Giant monster. The submarine shook suddenly, and countless companions and I huddled together in fright. Suddenly there was a bang, a gap was exposed in the front of the submarine, and we were launched like a missile. The moment we plunged into the deep sea, our survival instincts were mobilized all of a sudden, and we just tried our best to swim to the surface. Not far away, there was a lifeboat, a huge glass ball that was floating. I was the first to swim close, found the only gap, and got into it. Unexpectedly, the gap was automatically sealed. My companions kept beating the glass outside, but it couldn't be broken. After a whole day and night, the companions were exhausted and sank one by one. After that, the glass ball slowly turned red, and then I lived a long day without light. Without food and clean water, I thought my life was over, but miraculously survived day by day, and my body grew day by day as well. I thought it would grow so big that even a glass ball could not hold me. However, it turned out that the glass ball was very elastic and would grow in size as I grew in size. After a long time, I was still squeezed into this small space, and I thought I would spend the rest of my life here. Unexpectedly, one day, the glass ball slowly reversed, and soon I was pulled horizontally by a force, and a strong light suddenly fell from the top of my head. I found that I was no longer in the sea. Great, I was saved. But I was happy too soon. I looked up, and the savior in front of me was not of the same kind, but a monster with a strange shape. It was dressed in white. It grabbed me, then gave me a series of blows. I had no ability to resist, because it was 10 times bigger than me. The only thing I could do was cry. Upon seeing me crying, it nodded in satisfaction, then handed me over to the other 2 monsters around me, and spoke some language that I couldn't understand. Afterwards, 2 monsters took me to a square cave, and I was trapped in a small, uncovered wooden cell. Above the cell, there was a flat circular object that rotated and emitted strange music, with many colorful animals hanging from the edge. Upon closer inspection, they all had stiff limbs and no signs of life at all. 2 words sounded in my heart: specimen. Could it be that a monster was going to take me? The more I thought about it, the more scared I became, and I was about to run away, but found that I could only lie down and twist my body, and my original flexible mobility was completely lost. My terror was to the height, and the cavern shook with howling. The 2 monsters immediately made a terrible move to scare me. They was overing their faces with their hands repeatedly and opening them suddenly, and screaming beep beep beep. I cried harder. One of the monsters lifted me up and poured an unknown white liquid into my mouth with something like a funnel. This was embalming fluid. I shall become a stuffed animal for monsters to watch, like the animals that are hung up. The smell of the antiseptic liquid was fishy and astringent. The moment I entered it made me want to vomit, but gradually I felt less resistant. Before I knew it, I fell into a coma. Was this an antiseptic solution, or a stun drug? After many months, not only did I not become a specimen, nor did I suffer from mental decline due to repeated coma, my body became stronger and stronger, and my mind became more and more clear. In the following days, those 2 monsters would meet me every day. In addition to continuing to feed me the white liquid, they also helped me change into bright prison clothes of different styles, put me flat on the prison cart and pushed me outside just like letting prisoners out for exercise or to relieve themselves, forced me to learn their language, and so on. One day, as I was lying looking up at the empty ceiling of the cell, I suddenly thought, maybe I have enough strength to get out of here. I turned around and climbed towards the fence. I grabbed the fence and stood up with strength. When I was about to climb up, I suddenly felt very strange. Why did I do this action? I looked at my legs, and then I remembered that the two monsters would also do this action. I finally understand why they didn't stuff me. Because I was their kind. Those specimens were for my viewing. After knowing this fact, instead of being uneasy, my mind suddenly changed. There was nothing wrong with this. It was not because I resigned to fate, but because I suddenly felt that this monster action seemed to be my instinct, and I also remembered that the two monsters did not mean to harm me, and it made me thrive. After a few months, I could walk slowly on two legs in the cave without holding on to anything, and I also learned to speak the language of monsters. And the first thing he learned were the two words that made the two monsters smile. Those two words were very easy to pronounce. You just need to close your mouth, open it, and open it again. Dad. Mom.